Welcome. Welcome to today, December 2nd. Today is the International Day for the Abolition of Slavery. And as we gather today, we gather as people who refuse to pretend that slavery is only in the past. We name the ongoing realities of trafficking, forced labor, detention, and mass incarceration. And we say presente for all who are still not free. As Advent begins, for those of us who celebrate, we remember that the one we await was born under empire and among a people who knew oppression and resistance. And we commit ourselves again to that same liberating love. I am grateful to be with a community that chooses truth, courage, and solidarity. May our time together deepen our hope and our resolve for a world where every person can live free.
Beloved community, welcome. Today, we gather inside a different kind of chapel, one shaped not only by walls and windows, but by waves of sound that reach us from across histories, species, and landscapes. Our service, to rise, to bow, to land, is inspired and grounded in the profound work of our colleague, Dr. Moses Balaam-John, whose 2024 dissertation entitled, Can the Subaltern Sing? Dalit Sonic Liturgical Liberation Theology in the Age of the Photoscene. It invites us to reimagine listening as spiritual, ethical, and an ecological practice. Dr. Moses challenges us with the bold reorientation. What if our faith begins not with speaking, but with listening? Not only to human voices, but to the voices of the birds, rivers, winds, our ancestors, and the silent ones of the world. In the Photoscene, Dr. Balaam-John reminds us, the earth does not wait to be represented. She is already singing. The question is whether we will attune our bodies and our theologies enough to hear it. Today's service brings together performance and ritual, two human practices often treated as separate, yet deeply intertwined. Drawing from our Introduction to Ritual and Worship class, one of the authors, Richard Scheiner, describes performance as showing and doing, a way of pointing to our actions so that we might recognize ourselves and one another anew. We also had the beauty of reading Tom F. Driver's book, Liberating Rites, Ritual as Our Symboling, which reminds us, ritual is the patterned re-entering of meaning, the embodied rehearsal of what matters most. When performance and ritual meet, they create a threshold, a place where our ordinary repetitions can become sacred and our sacred gestures can become transformative. In the Anthropocene, we have been taught to imagine nature as separate from us, passive in our choices. Yet, we are nature, and nature is us. Earth is waiting for our stewardship, yet suffering under our neglect. But Dr. Moses invites us into the Photoscene, a world where listening collapses the false boundary between human and more human life. A world where birdsong is not background noise, but it's liturgy. Where the rustle of leaves is not ambiance, but theology. Where the voice of Dalit communities, long silence, join the voices of earth in a shared and demand for recognition of dignity and life. Each day, in our Ritual and Practice class, led by Dr. Claudio Cavales, we begin our morning by listening to the birds. Yeah, This ritual and performance is not a human gaze, but rather a collective healing. It is an invitation to listen as resistance, to listen as liberation, to listen as prayer. It really is. As we participate, let us remember, performance takes place between us, and ritual takes place through us. Today's offering takes place in the world around us. May this Aphonoscene birdsong ritual open our ears. May it open our bodies. May it open our theologies. And may it open our hearts to the divine who sings in every creature, every tremor, every breath of this wounded and wondrous life. Welcome. Let us listen together.
Thank you, Alisha. So in putting together this chapel, we listened, obviously, to a lot of bird sounds. And in listening, in my explorations of listening to birds, I came across this one recording of a bird from my youth, the Australian superb lyrebird. And when I heard it, it triggered a memory of a story from my youth. And I went searching, and I found the story. And the story is one from the Dharawal people of eastern New South Wales, the region I grew up in. It is the story of Yandalora, the place of peace, or the place of peace amongst peoples. And being an Aboriginal story, in Aboriginal culture, stories are valued very highly. They cannot be traded, they can only be given. And I have not been given this story, so although on one level I know the story very well, it's not a story that I am allowed to share, especially in a context as far from its origins as this one. I reached out to the traditional owner of the story, but I couldn't make that connection, which turns out to be a lovely little piece of luck. Because instead of me ham-fistedly massacring this Indigenous Australian story, instead I went and I found an older version of the story, indeed told by the current custodian's mother, which had an appendix including all of the animals and birds mentioned in the story, with their Dharawal and their English and their Latin names. And armed with those Latin names, I was able to track down samples of all of these birds and animals taken in the wild, and I've sewn them together into something of a soundscape or a sound bath for you. So this is the story of Yandalora, the place of peace amongst people. It is the story of Wirit Jirabin, the superb lyrebird, who alone amongst the people had the wisdom to maintain the laws of the land of peace, and as a result, he is the only person who can speak all of the languages. In a way, this story is the indigenous Tower of Babel myth. But it's also the story of Gilinga the toad and how he lost his extraordinary beauty of voice and face. And it's a story about the dangers of speaking in other people's voices. It is a beautiful story, and although I cannot share it, you are, of course, free to seek it out on your own. If you type Yandalora Dreaming into Google, you'll find it no problem, and there's absolutely no prohibition on you reading or hearing the story told in videos online. So here is a non-narrative, first-person interpretation of the Yandalora myth. Thank you.
Wow, Pete, thank you so much. That was so beautiful and much needed. Now we perform in community. In our ritual and performance class, we had the opportunity to read the book, The Little Book of Zen by Paula Ari. It was a beautiful invitation to explore the growth and the self-reflection through the imagination of ritual and healing. Dr. Ari states, I approach rituals by recognizing that everyone has the freedom to create them because each person has the power to create meaning. Healing rituals are concrete acts of compassion that guide us through our lives, helping us to decrease fear and anxiety and to increase awareness and connectedness. Such rituals flourish in the messiness of our life and conditions. I wonder if we can engage in this activity together today. Let us try and do that with our bird friends by sharing sacred gestures and a collective ritual. Here's what we'll do. I will invite everyone to pick one word that reminds them of a bird. Then I will invite everyone to pick one gesture that you'd like to offer up to the birds. This, preferably, I ask, be one that brings both you and them joy. We'll come back together in 1 minute, and then as a group, we will share our word, we'll perform our gesture, and then at the end, we will ring these lovely bells, and we will offer up an intentional offering to our bird relatives, reflecting sacredness and community. So I'll come back in 1 minute, think of your word and your gesture, and then we'll perform it together, okay? Yeah. Did not sound good?
grew up with